Okay. Next project is we're working on some sewing machines. This is a Singer that I'm working on, called a Slant-o-matic 401A. You'll see it in some of my other videos. It's on one. This is one on loan from my mother. I've actually already fixed it. I'm going to take you over what I did. At least the specific problem. It's a problem with the foot pedal. Okay. The foot pedal, as you can see, should give you some level of speed variance. And when we were using this machine earlier tonight, there's very little speed variance. It was sort of just kind of a little bit there. You hear the motor moan a little bit, and then bang, it's off and it's running in nearly full speed. So I'm going to show you what that involves doing to adjust that. Now, but actually, before I take this apart, this pedal is a separate plug, so we're going to unplug it. And so it's not live, because if you open these up, these have live like wall voltage off of it. The newer machines are pretty obvious to me that they're lower voltage DC pedal, DC voltage in the pedal. Probably not really all that harmful because they're computer controlled. It's also easier for them because it requires parts that are not quite as bulky and hefty to handle lower voltages. However, this was the only way they knew how to do it. This machine dates to the 50s. So this is how they knew how to do it, and this is how they did it, and it works pretty well. So we take the 4 screws off the back off, and we pull the make sure I'm still in frame here. We pull the pedal apart, and then this top cover, your stress relief, your strain relief, will stay behind. We're gonna turn it over, and the screws will dump out and the corners will come off. There's a lot of old-fashioned, oh, drop the screw. A lot of old-fashioned Bakelite plastic. Well, that's a little disconcerting. That looks like that maybe the wrong size. Okay, so what you see here is the cord comes in, and it comes to these tie-in points here, and there's sets of contacts in here. As the main button presses down here, you see it moves this spring-loaded mechanism. What you see immediately when you look at it is there's a set of contacts across the front. Hopefully the light's catching that. Let me see if I can get around the camera here. There's a set of contacts here around the front, and you'll see this bar comes up to meet them. Now that is your full speed. At full depress, that bar should make contact across both those contacts, and this thing will launch off into full speed when that happens. And you want to make sure it does that. However, for your variable speed, because that's just an electrical short, that's full power. For variable speed, that's what this big bulky square looking thing is. Square looking thing. In the back you can see there's a contact there. Now this is a backing plate. Below it are 2 leaf brass contacts and some carbon rods, and this is basically a big carbon variable resistor. I took all of this apart. You take screws off here, and these screws will take this resistor loose, and you'll have to unscrew this screw in the back here, and it will come loose off of this mechanism here. This rod goes all the way through. And I cleaned the contacts as best as I could with solvents, and then also a good contact cleaner is a pencil eraser. It's slightly abrasive. Get rid of some of the carbon scoring on there, and put it all back together, and you end up having to I found what's the easiest way is to go ahead and put your wires back here, put this back together, and then in order to adjust this, you just have this out in the open, and I don't know exactly what of it is live by looking at it and what of it's not. What I do is I take the button out of the top here, and it will fit over your handle, and use that because that makes it insulated for your handle. Press something metal. Remember, lots of live voltages here. So be very, very careful if you're around here. If you don't trust yourself with the voltage, put the case back on and off between tries. But essentially what you have to do is this contact here runs up and down this threaded rod, and the same threaded rod is used to attach to this point here. There's a captured nut on this bar right here, down inside there, and you have to balance out where this is in relation to how much pressure is being applied to the back contacts. And so what I would do is I would, put it together, and I'd try it and see where I was. With these, still hooked up, you just reach over, plug it in the machine, and see what kind of range you got. Well, okay, so if it's too far forward on the bar, you won't get any variable speed, and it'll just kick over and engage. Bang. Okay? If it's too far down, you'll get lots of variable speed, but it'll never go full speed no matter how hard you press. And so you would unscrew this, and this thing moves up and down this rod whenever you turn this rod. It is held horizontal by the plastic underneath it. So as you're undoing it off of this main captured nut, you're also moving it on the rod. So you got to kind of shoot past where you want to go, and then as you reattach it, it will wind back. I'm trying to think. It'll wind downwards as you screw it. So wherever you think you want it, you actually need it to go further up the rod, and then as you attach it, it'll come back down the rod. And really, where I ended up placing the rod was where the end of the rod is just level with the end of the captured nut down in there. And so I would take it off of the captured nut, and then with the screwdriver on it and kind of holding it, I would, move this up and down where I thought it needed to be, and then put the rod back onto the captured nut, go in until I saw it level, plug it back in, try it. A lot of trial and error. I don't know if there's a published Singer procedure on how to do that, but that's the way I did it. When you have it where you want it, slam everything back together, screw it back together, call it good. Hopefully that helps. If you have one of these old machines and you're looking to service it, maybe somebody will find that useful. This foot pedal and this style was used in a bunch of these machines. Hopefully somebody will find it useful. It's not just for the... This is a Singer Slant-o-matic 401, I think I may have mentioned. There were other styles, like I say. This is about 50s era, so there were probably other styles that use this. I don't know for what generation. But I've seen them all over the place. And so hopefully that'll save you from having to buy a pedal. It may just need to be readjusted. Especially these, or cleaned, especially these back contacts in here. When you take this rod loose, this is spring-loaded back here, and it'll want to pop out. And you can see the brass contacts back in there, and you pull them out a little bit and turn them 90 degrees, and you can get to them where you can service them and get down a little, with some pointy tools and some rags or something and some solvents, and clean the ends of the copper a little bit to get rid of the loose copper, and then mainly clean the brass contacts that are back underneath that following plate. Get those real clean. They've got arc scorches on them and carbon scoring and whatnot, and get them as clean as you can. You're not going to get all of it, but get it as clean as you can, and put it back together and make sure it's in adjustment, and you should be good to go. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.